Hi, my name is Terry, and I come from a small town in North Alabama. Um, my family mainly live there, but I have family also in the Chattanooga area as well as Lenoir City. I have a lot of family there that I don't even know, but I grew up in North Alabama, and I'm related to most everyone there. I'm the oldest of four children. I feel more like a mother to the younger ones than a sister, as I took care of them while my parents worked. Um, my grandparents farmed when I was young. Well, if they weren't retired and in poor health, they would still be farming now. You can't hardly get my grandfather out of the field. So but they farmed my entire life. And when I was very young, my parents worked for them from early morning, sunrise until sunset, basically. So my grandmother raised me. She was 37 when I was born. My parents were 19. So, very, very young family. And I felt more like my grandmother was my mother. Felt more like my parents were my older siblings, to be honest, and that caused problems later um, during my teenage years because my parents did not see things that way. And so we had some disagreements because of that. I felt that they had no authority over me because my grandmother raised me, but that's another story. Um, my grandmother and my mother always took us to church, even when my dad was in a bad place and he was not going, um, because she raised him in church as well. But then, as an adult, he fell away for several years until I think I was about 9 or 10 when he went to a Christmas play at our church and was saved that Christmas. Um, as far as my spirituality, I was I was about the same age whenever I attended a vacation Bible school in the summer, and I felt the call to go to the altar when they asked if anyone wanted to pray. At the time, I knew all the Bible stories. It had been ingrained in us from the time that we could, understand and have a conversation. But I didn't really understand the deep meaning behind it. I just felt a pull to go to the altar, and I went. Later, as I got into my teenage years, I started understanding it a little more. And then when I got out of high school, I had some friends that strayed from God, strayed from Christianity, and were exploring other religions. So I academically studied those religions just to see kind of what is the appeal. I never joined another religion. I just kind of did some studying in the library at college to just kind of see what is the appeal. Why are they going in this direction? Um, that's not to say that I've been in church the entire time, because there have been periods in my life where I have not, and I have fallen out of church. One big thing is the fact that once my dad got saved, within 6 months to a year, he was preaching, and he has ever since. And for most people, that would be a good thing, that you go from a not so good situation to a supposedly good situation. But as a child, when you go from one extreme to another like that in your family environment, it's very confusing. Um, my parents were very, very strict and controlling and overbearing, in my opinion. Um, Looking back now, I do not feel that they were as overbearing as I thought they were at the time. Now that I have been out on my own and understand a little bit more about the world, I do feel, however, that more should have been explained to me, and I feel parents need to understand that instead of just being strict and overbearing to children. They should explain things more to them so they know what's going on, and not just be in this Southern tradition of, speak when you're spoken to, don't ask questions. I don't believe in that. I believe this is a person you're supposed to be training to be an adult, and you should be treating them as such, and not just, oh, they're a child, they won't understand. Because I can tell you things from before kindergarten, let me tell you. I remember my cat Samantha that I had when I was 2.5, 3 years old. So, children remember things. Just keep that in mind. Whenever I graduated high school, I received a leadership scholarship to the local community college because I was FFA president in high school. And for those that are not familiar with that, that's the Future Farmers of America Association. It's now called the National FFA Association. So I was very involved in that, as well as I was involved in marching band and concert band. I played the baritone in the marching band and the tuba in the concert band. I didn't really want to go to college right out of high school because I've always felt a call on my life to be sort of a counselor or a guide to other people who may have come from a small town like I did, and a very traditional Southern family that didn't feel like I had a lot of guidance in the area of career choices and things, because I didn't get to go very many places, to discover what it was I wanted to do with my life. So I've kind of felt called to be more like of a guide and counselor to others, just because of situations I've been through. And I have been in and out of college since I was 18. A lot of that time is because I had to work while I was going to school. I didn't have the luxury of just going to school only. So, if my hours increased at work and I'm working 40 hours, it's very hard for me to take 8 classes. So at that point, I dropped out that semester. But I've been back in school now for about a year. This is a little over a year, actually. This is my second semester at Tennessee Temple. And I went 2 semesters at Chattanooga State in a row before this. So this will be like 2 years in a row I've been going to school now. Before that, when I first moved to Chattanooga, I was working and going to school until I lost my apartment because I lost hours at work. At that point, I was determined to stay in school and finish out the semester because there had been so many times in the past I had to quit school because of my job. I was determined to finish school. So I did end up sleeping in my car so that I could, finish out the semester and try to stay in school at Chat State. And because of this, I ended up in a homeless women's dormitory, which was quite the experience. I kind of felt a little out of place, being that I was not as homeless as some of the other people, as that was the way it was in my mind anyways. I didn't feel as homeless because I wasn't sleeping, out in the elements under a bridge with nothing but a jacket, like some of the girls had been doing. But because of that experience, I feel that I want to work with women. I feel a lot of the women in that program have slipped through the cracks. That was a state-ran program that I was in, so they were not allowed to have any type of spiritual guidance or spiritual counseling, or the employees could not transport them to church or anywhere for that fact. A lot of the ladies in that program had either undiagnosed or untreated mental health problems, and it was not very supervised. I was told that it was an independent living program, and that was why they were not supervising the women. But I felt that was an inappropriate program for a lot of those women, and they needed more help and guidance than what the state was providing for them. So in the future, I would like to be involved in working in or founding a program for women that is